Live from News 7 KWWL, we've got you covered. This is Today in Iowa.
Now on Today in Iowa. Where is Molly? The search for missing Iowa student Molly Tibbetts continues, with her family and friends taking their efforts to the Iowa State Fair this weekend. Plus, new details following a deadly eastern Iowa shooting involving police. Then
2, 1, 0.
Blast off. NASA launches its daring solar probe mission to kiss the sun. A lot happening, but first, good morning and welcome to Today in Iowa. Happy Sunday as we take a live look outside with our Cedar Falls Skycam. Still pretty hazy out there this morning. And thanks so much for joining us. I'm Lauren Moss. It's another hot and humid one out there. So let's go check in with Storm Track 7 meteorologist Eileen Lone, who is tracking all the heat today.
Yeah. Heat, humidity, and very little wind to provide any cooling whatsoever.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's going to be dangerously hot outside in many areas with heat indices up in the 90s. We also had some areas of fog. It's improving, but still down to about 2 miles in Elkader, Waterloo. Some places might be a little lower, especially valleys. So be aware of that over the next couple of hours. Temperatures are warming into the mid-60s to around 70, already 70 in Dubuque and Iowa City, with dew points climbing. They're in the mid-60s and climbing into the mid to upper 60s once again today. Very similar to yesterday, although even a degree or two hotter than yesterday. We'll have plenty of sunshine, maybe a few extra clouds this afternoon. But if you're heading to Des Moines for the Iowa State Fair or even staying in eastern Iowa, it's going to be hot and humid. Des Moines, though, aiming for the low 90s both today and tomorrow. So if you wanted to put it off a day, not much better tomorrow, although the winds might be a little bit stronger. A little more details on what we can expect coming up in just a few minutes.
New this morning, it's a story that had Eileen in tears this morning. Forget reaching for the stars. No, NASA is now reaching for the sun. A historic mission to explore some of the sun's deepest secrets is underway. The rocket carrying the Parker Solar Probe was blasted into space this morning. It'll fly straight through the edges of the outer solar atmosphere, making it the first spacecraft to ever fly that close to the sun. It also marks the first time NASA has named a spacecraft after someone still alive. And 91-year-old Eugene Parker was there to watch the historic launch this morning. It's expected to have its first solar encounter in November. Following a deadly shooting in eastern Iowa, the police officers involved will not be facing charges. This comes more than a week after that shooting between police and multiple suspects in Ottumwa. Nearby Liberty Elementary School went on lockdown because of it. Now, one of the suspects, David White, died in that exchange. 2 other suspects are both in custody facing multiple charges. A county attorney says there is no question the officers' actions were legally justified. This weekend, the search continues for 20-year-old Molly Tibbetts. Molly disappeared more than 3 weeks ago after going for a jog in her hometown of Brooklyn. A news conference that was planned for Friday has now been moved to tomorrow. Now, we do know the investigation is still very active. The Des Moines Register is reporting this man has taken a polygraph test. Wayne Shenny is a farmer in Poweshiek County. He spoke with a reporter last week saying he has nothing to hide. At this time, he has not been named as an official suspect or person of interest in Molly's case. He says he's never met Molly or anyone in her family. This weekend, Molly's family, boyfriend, and friends were at the Iowa State Fairgrounds handing out missing person flyers. You could see it has Molly's face and information on it. Molly's father is hoping someone, anyone, will speak up.
Well, there'll be millions of Iowans here, and it's going to be people here in the state that saw something or know something that get back to the authorities with that information that ultimately will bring Molly back.
And Molly was last seen jogging on July 18th in Brooklyn, Iowa. Her boyfriend was the last to hear from her via Snapchat around 10 o'clock that night. Molly's father has suggested she might have been abducted from her boyfriend's home. Authorities have not found her Fitbit exercise tracker or her cell phone. Now, the reward fund offered for the safe return of Molly has grown to more than $332,000 this weekend. The Crime Stoppers of Central Iowa say hundreds of people have donated to that fund. They also say they've received close to 1,000 tips regarding Molly's case. In LaPorte City, it's still been 4 months and still no word on where Jake Wilson may be. It's been more than 100 days since the 16-year-old with autism told his family he was going for a walk and never came back home. Now, if you have any information on the disappearances of Jake or Molly, please contact authorities. We'll also be live streaming tomorrow's news conference on Molly on our KWWL Facebook page. Continuing coverage into a big story this weekend, we now know the name of the man who stole an airplane and did stunts in the air before crashing. Authorities say Richard Russell was an airline ground service agent who was apparently suicidal. NBC's Chris Pallone has the latest from Seattle.
Just did a loop-de-loop. Friday night in the skies above Seattle, a sight that stopped people in their tracks.
That is not a drone. That is a real plane.
A Horizon Airlines turboprop airplane flying aimlessly over the region, performing stunts flanked by 2 military fighter jets.
It's a Alaska Airlines Q400. What the is he doing over here?
Authorities say a 29-year-old airline ground service agent stole the empty 76-seat plane, somehow got it into the air and flew it around for more than an hour. Air traffic controllers trying in vain throughout the flight to convince him to land.
He's just flying around, and he just needs some help controlling his aircraft.
Nah, I mean, I don't need that much help. I played some video games before.
At times, the apparently suicidal man joked with air traffic controllers.
Hey, you think if I land this successfully, Alaska will give me a job as a pilot?
At other times, he was reflective, seeming to regret what he had done.
I got a lot of people that care about me, and it's going to disappoint them to hear that I did this.
As fighter jets tried to steer the unlikely pilot away from the city, he crashed the plane into a small island in Puget Sound. Fire and smoke visible for miles around. Investigators don't believe anyone on the ground was hurt. They say the man worked for the airline for about 3 years. The FBI is looking for clues to see if there were any signs he was planning to do this, and to figure out what steps can be taken to prevent other airline workers from doing the same thing. Chris Pallone, NBC News.
And investigators say they don't believe the airline worker had his pilot's license. Right now, they're trying to figure out how he knew how to start the plane in the first place. A shocking story this morning out of Idaho as a man survived 2 days pinned under his own truck. This 21-year-old was traveling on a dirt road when he quickly swerved to miss another vehicle. That caused his 3/4-ton truck to flip and roll down a ravine. The truck landed on its side in a small, narrow creek bed. He was partially ejected and pinned to the ground. For 2 days, the young man stayed in that tight, confined space.
It took me a few hours to even realize that I was underneath my truck. And then panic kind of set in.
A friend looking for him spotted the overturned truck. For 2 hours, crews worked to get him out. Eventually, he was removed from the truck and flown to a hospital with a broken collarbone, serious bruising, a hurt ankle, and other injuries. He's taking his time recovering, but some good news. He's starting to walk again and should be released very soon. An aspiring firefighter is being called a hero for saving the life of a man engulfed in flames. Brooke Martin reports.
This handshake means more than most, but to understand why, we have to rewind an hour.
I was standing outside of my apartment on the phone and saw the kitchen ignite.
What Jordan Morris saw next made his instincts take over.
A guy ran out, one of the painters. He was on fire. His arms were covered. He had fire on the seat of his pants and his pants legs.
Morris put the fire on the man out after making sure he was coherent.
The floor was bubbling in the kitchen.
Morris went in.
Grabbed my fire extinguishers, kind of cautiously approached the kitchen, found where the source of the fire was, extinguished the source of the fire, then went back to extinguish everything else, or at least cover it to make sure that it was completely out.
The fire was near gas lines and next door to an apartment where children lived. Morris said he didn't think twice.
I wasn't even thinking about it too much. I just, I saw what was going on, and it was immediate action.
So back to that handshake. Jordan Morris has been on a 2-year waiting list for the Indianapolis Fire Department's Academy. Tonight, that handshake was an assurance that he'd soon get a chance to do this for a living.
He's got a bright future ahead of him. Morris told firefighters he was just glad he was there to help. Watching the water from the sky, how about this? The North Carolina Fire Department wants to see if drones can decrease response times to help a swimmer in distress. Get this, the drone would help in search and rescues by scanning down with a camera, dropping a flotation device down to the swimmer, who would then be pulled to safety by a rope.
I will say that with the current technology, nothing beats a lifeguard. That's going to be your #1 way to prevent drownings, and statistics clearly proves that. What we're looking at is a resource to really assist them or provide rescue when they're not on the stands or not working.
And officials say the new tool will not be used to replace lifeguards, only help them. How about that? Well, coming up on Today in Iowa, after hail damage and severe weather, a zoo is now back open. And fall is right around the corner, believe it or not, how you can stay fashionable for less. And as a reminder, when you see news or if you have any pictures or videos to share, you can always do that by going to our Facebook page. You can also like our page to stay up to date on all breaking news and weather information. Stay with us.
Nation Forward extends to everyone that I see. I feel that I'm an advocate for aviation, and this is a great way to share my passion.
You can really tell it says passion there, can't you? The Young Eagles are going to be holding another event in 2 weeks. That will take place in Waverly. So for more information on how you can get involved, head to our website, kwwl.com. Bit of a hazy day for them yesterday. Another one, too, today. Let's go check in with Storm Track 7 meteorologist Eileen Lone.
Yeah,
Eileen.
They didn't have to worry about a crosswind. Of course, there wasn't really much of a wind at all. Yeah, not much wind again today, and it's going to be hazy, hot, and humid yet again.
A 16-year-old created a masterpiece that left Minnesota State fairgoers speechless. Take a look at this. The teen made this dress with 40 decks of playing cards. How? Well, she used 5,000 staples and a whole lot of yarn to attach the cards to a $7 dress from Goodwill. And yes, it's wearable. She proved it by taking a picture with it on. So this one wins hands down.
You're so funny. Don't quit your
Don't be.
No.
I'm walking
That's actually
off.
pretty cool, though.
It is very cool. I know. I wonder if we have something like that at Iowa State Fair.
I don't know. Let's go.
Let's go right now. I got to quit my day job, so
Okay, yeah. Weather is going to be hot and humid, though, whether you stay here or go to the State Fair.